We are in the midst of Q4. I thought we'd just go over some best practices when it comes to sale ads. Your offer itself is sort of the overture to your suite of Black Friday creative. So you really want to make sure that the offer makes sense first. This breaks my heart, but brand can kind of take a back seat throughout Q4. Do not forget about post-click. Be prepared. This is a highly volatile time of year, and it's a very important time of year. And so what I mean by be prepared is I love working with Pilot House because while we are a performance marketing agency, we really pride ourselves on caring so much about brand and creative. At Pilot House, we don't just make ads, we craft them. Every edit, every word, every scroll-stopping detail is built with purpose and care, and I truly believe that care drives creativity and creativity drives results. Our attention to both scale and brand allows us to craft strategies that deliver you short-term results while making you long-term successful, which is so important for any DTC brand. If you are curious about learning more about working with Pilot House, you can fill out a lead form at pilothouse.co and let them know you want to go on a brand new ad venture. You don't actually have to say that. You don't have to make a pun. I'm not going to force you to make a pun. Just fill out the lead form. We'd love to chat with you. Hi, welcome back to Ad-venturous, the podcast produced by DTC and hosted by me, Aves. Today, I thought I would do a pretty quick episode, but I think a really important one as we're heading into peak sale time now. We are in the midst of Q4, not really the height of Q4, but we are in Q4. Q4 is Q4ing. Everyone's talking about it. It's very exciting. So yeah, I thought we'd just go over some best practices when it comes to sale ads, because as we all know, costs really start to go up on basically any platform where you're advertising. So it's really important to have really good, efficient sale creative that just gets the job done. Very Chapel Roan, very just utilitarian when it comes to sale ads. So yeah, that's the topic of conversation today. Like I said, really simple. We're just going to run through a couple of best practices and things that I try to keep in mind when I'm putting together sort of an entire suite of content for a sale for a brand. One of my favorite things to ponder and think about is Occam's razor, which is basically the rule that the simplest solution is probably the best solution. And I think that particularly applies to sale content. The simpler your content is to understand, the more likelihood that people are going to click on it. It's just that simple. Everyone is running sale content. It's so annoying to say because I've heard it said on podcasts 1,000 times, but Black Friday is getting earlier and earlier. I know a lot of brands start sort of November 1st. So we're getting pretty close to the start date of everyone running Black Friday sale ads. And so it's really important to differentiate yourself, yes, but also make the offer really clear and simple, because people during Q4 are driven predominantly by offer. Of course, your product has a lot to do with whether or not people are clicking, and you see a lot of top of funnel action, people coming through to the brand for the first time because of pricing, because of sale. But yeah, the actual offer itself is going to be what really gets people in through the door. So make sure that is as clear as possible. There are a lot of different types of offers. I think I've chatted about this when we did an episode for Memorial Day, and again when we talked about Labor Day. But your offer itself is sort of the overture to your suite of Black Friday creative. So you really want to make sure that the offer makes sense first. I think, yeah, like I said, I've talked about this before, but any kind of really convoluted to explain sale is just probably not going to perform as well as saying, spend $50, get 10% off, spend $150, get 20% off. That's a really simple tiered offer, or doing just a simple site-wide percentage off. That's usually, if you can facilitate that kind of discounting as a brand, my go-to recommendation. Anything where you start to get really complicated, like you unlock different gifts with purchase at different spend levels, or different collections are on sale for different price points, all of that makes a sale ad really jumbled and confusing to understand. So make sure before you start actually thinking about how to make your offer clear in your creative, start with just like genuinely a clear offer that makes sense. But you really want to avoid any type of over explaining, especially like I said, when the offer hopefully is really simple itself. You don't want to over explain. You don't want to kind of like overwhelm people with information. Something I see a lot of brands want to do around this time of year is figure out how to really educate people on the brand and also tell them what the sale is, because like I said, we see a lot of top of funnel movement, people coming in for the very first time because of the offer. But the mistake there is people are going to be, like I said, very offer driven and also very product specific. Brand, this breaks my heart, but can kind of take a back seat throughout Q4. You don't need to let people into your world. You don't need to do any kind of brand building through specific copy. Just adding what the sale is and the word sale. Like I said, Occam's razor, simplest solution, often the best one, and the one we should go with. So really think about how you can dial back. Like I said, I've seen a lot of brands try to really make this period of time almost a launch pad for more performance and brand building in the future, but really just strip it all back and make sure you're keeping in mind that the simpler things are the better, because like I said, there are so many freaking sale ads running on any given platform. So if you can just show a attractive image or video of the product and include the sale offer, that is always going to be sort of the best. Okay, that is the first pillar, super simple, KISS, Occam's razor, whatever idiom saying you want to use, just do not overcomplicate your sale creative is basically that pillar. Pillar number 2 is make sure that you are accounting for the entire creative range. I've sort of talked about this on the podcast before, but what I mean by that is make sure you've got really sort of scrappy, organic looking content, and then all the way at the other side of the spectrum, make sure you have polished, branded sort of photography overlays, things that look really nice as well. One thing that I have found with many Black Friday seasons under my belt now is that what works is really kind of random. Whatever gets picked up by the algo is what's going to work. This is just best practice all year round. I talk about this a lot when I audit brands, that I look specifically for a really healthy creative range. Again, meaning that you've got sort of iPhone top-down shots of the product being unboxed. You've got really branded photography you've really invested in. I want to see everything, because that means your ad account is healthy. It means that you've got actual true creative diversification, and it means that you're accounting for sort of every stage of awareness and also every type of customer entering the funnel. So really want to make sure that you are accounting for the full creative range. I see brands struggle the most with finding ways to make sort of that scrappier, more humanized sale creative, because most of us, myself included, go to prep for a sale and we add overlay onto the nicest photography we have and we rinse our hands and call it a day. But I think it would behoove us all this Black Friday season to really dig into the archives, or right now shoot content and really grab some interesting, fun B-roll. I talk about short form B-roll on this podcast like every single episode. It is that important. But really start thinking about how can you make something that is entertaining, product forward, and then slap a sale overlay onto it. I took a piece of warehouse B-roll from one of the brands I was working with during Black Friday weekend and added messaging on it that was kind of tongue-in-cheek about being tired and sick of making ads on the weekend. And it ended up being one of our top performers. I think I just said, like, this is what the sale is. I'm really tired. Please buy so that I can have a break. And it was like enough of a sense of humor to get people engaged with the ad. And then the product was really visible, so people really knew what they were clicking on as well. I think sometimes if we go a little too crazy in the humorous B-roll direction, then people don't know what they're clicking on and they might get the side and bounce. So make sure, again, if you're going to go that sort of humorous B-roll route, that the actual product is visible. And then, like I said, just slap on some overlay about what the sale actually is. Maybe one line as a joke and you're good to go. But really make sure, like I mentioned, having that full broad range of content is really key to your success. It is, like I said, we hate to admit it, a bit random this time of year. What performs is going to perform, what doesn't won't. So really make sure that you account for all different types of creative, because it does matter. And like I mentioned in a previous podcast, it does create a really healthy ad account to have that diversification. And I'm not just talking about a polished piece of photography with different copy iterations. I'm talking about true creative diversification. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can go back and listen to that episode. But yeah, it's really fruitful for your ad account to have different styles in it. And that is all year round, but especially during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because like I said, you don't know who's out there. You don't know who's going to click on your ad based on what the product is, and also that there is a sale, and intent is so high. So you just want to make sure that you are sort of there with open arms to capture everyone that you possibly can. The third pillar I want to talk about is to be totally prepared. That sounds really silly to say, but it's not. And a lot of people forget that this is a highly volatile time of year, and it's a very important time of year. And so what I mean by be prepared is have content ready for every scenario that could happen. I've seen brands sell out of top performing products that they didn't expect to sell out of. I've seen brands have to switch offers because the first version wasn't doing very well. So make sure that you are fully prepared for any situation that could arise. I know, because I'm the same. We are not fortune tellers as folks in the creative space. So you obviously can't know specifically what's going to happen, but what you can do is create sort of these blanket ads. This is something I do for every brand that I work with, and I encourage our entire team of content managers here at Pilot House to do the same, is to make really generic sale creative. Because if you sell out of top products that are named or photographed in your top ads, if you have to pivot that offer, the time that it takes you to potentially put together new creative that is specific to whatever the new game plan is, that's lost dollars if you're not advertising in that period of time. So having some really simple text-only ads that say sale on now, having content that features maybe packaging, again, just sale on now, things that are really generic in nature, so that if hopefully this doesn't happen to you, but if plans do have to change, especially, in that November period, you are ready and you don't have to pause anything down. You don't have to take down sale ads. You can keep things running sort of business as usual as you prep more specific creative to that new plan. I think that it is always better to have content that speaks directly to your offer. So I wouldn't only prep this generic content that I'm talking about. It's, like I said, it's always better to specifically name what the sale is, but this stuff is really good in the wings. Sometimes it does perform quite well. You can just launch it at the beginning of your sale, not worry what's going to happen, what might change, and just run it with very generic ad copy to the homepage. Bim, bam, boom, Bob's your uncle. You don't lose any momentum if you have to change your plans. And typically, most brands have to change their plans during Q4. So this is a subtle way if you're kind of a Q4 newbie around here. First of all, welcome. It's going to be okay. I actually find it really fun, but also be prepared, be ready to go, be ready for anything. Things change very, very quickly. The fourth pillar that we are going to chat about is do not forget about post-click. So I have maybe mentioned this, I do not know, on the podcast, but over here at Pilot House, we've got a proprietary tool. We call it Warp Drive. It basically enables us, specifically on Meta, to change the destination of where we are sending traffic from the ad. So typically what happens, just to give you some background if you don't know this, typically what happens is you have to reset your learnings on an ad if you'd like to change its destination, which is bum and sort of just a cash grab from Meta. So what that means is you lose all your learnings, you lose any engagement that you might have had. It is really bum, like I said. But what Warp Drive empowers us to do is we can switch those post-click links out without facing those ramifications, which is really nice during sale periods, because if we have any evergreen ads that are working really well, we can then test routing that traffic straight to a sale page or to a PDP. We do this sort of all year round. I do have to say it is a huge competitive advantage because the ad is really only half the story. If you think about it, where you send traffic is so important. I've seen such incremental lift from taking a really good ad and running it to a really strong landing page instead of the original place we're running, maybe a home page or a PDP, but running it to a specific landing page, and the incremental value in that is crazy. So really focus on where you are sending traffic from your sale content. I think that a mistake a lot of brands make is they just bounce people to the homepage, which is really scary to me. as both an advertiser and also a customer. From an advertising point of view, of course, I want to make sure that I am testing every single landing page that makes sense. I want to make sure that I'm curating landing page experiences that are specific to the ad and the sale. And as a consumer, that is really difficult, especially, like I said, this high intent period. We're clicking on ads for brands that we've never seen before or we've never really checked out. So running traffic straight to the homepage during Q4 is leaving money on the table because a lot of the times people don't know exactly what they're looking for. They might see something really cool in the ad and then they might take a little bit of time to find it on the website and just give up. That is something that I have done personally. I've also watched a lot of some heat maps of landing pages and websites, and that is something people do all the time. It is not just a me being lazy problem when I am scrolling and looking to buy stuff. So really make sure that you think deeply about where you're sending people. If you've got time and a team to do it, start developing some sales specific variations of your PDPs, start developing sales specific collection pages. Sales specific collection pages, I will say in my experience, do bring the most heat and value because you've got all this top of funnel traffic coming in for the first time. And if you just send them to the homepage and you let them do what they want, they're not going to have the curated experience that we might hope for. So I used to say this all the time, but you can think of an ad as like a sign on a window, and then think of a landing page as the salesperson in the store. So the landing page should give a lot of information and value. And even though it's this high intent period, the sales are good, we still have to do some legwork to get people to make that purchase. So creating specific landing pages for sales periods really help to give people more information so that they do make the purchase, but not overwhelm them as they would be if you sent them directly to the homepage. This is something, like I said, we test at scale at Pilot House. So we tend to take the homepage, a PDP, maybe a sales specific collection page. And with Warp Drive, we can test all of those pages against each other, find the best one, and then send a majority of the traffic to that page. It's just like testing ads. If you want to know more about Warp Drive, feel free to go to the Pilot House website and fill out a lead form. We can have a chat about it. We'll book a call with me directly. I've been doing this. It's really fun. I really like meeting you guys. So yeah, if that is something that is interesting to you or anything about the sale creative process, definitely head over to the website, fill out the lead form, and just say you came from the Ad-venturous podcast so that I know to be on that call. But yeah, Warp Drive is an incredible competitive advantage, especially through this time of year where we are funneling a lot of net new traffic onto our website. Okay, the final piece of advice and gentle reminder is to relax. I know that sounds really silly because I don't think I really give a relaxed vibe. If I do, you can let me know. I think that I give not high strung, but I don't think I seem relaxed in any case. But I guess excitable. Let's go with that. I don't give a chill vibe. I give an excitable vibe, and that's very true. But I think it's really important. I remind myself of this all the time in Q4 to slow down. One of my colleagues recently posted on LinkedIn about a small mistake she made because she was just moving too quickly already in Q4. And so really remind yourself to proofread your creative. Make sure that you rewatch content that you're editing. I like to get a second pair of eyes on the content that I make. I've got a couple brands I work with. Some of them we don't do approvals sometimes, but during this period of time, I really make sure to have, like I said, that second set of eyes because I am shipping like a metric ton of content every day. I am making so much, I am briefing so much. So getting a second set of eyeballs on that content is always very helpful. And slowing down to remember to do your regular performance checks. And this is coming from experience. I've made this mistake where I'm just sort of spinning wheels, go, 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 and I'm making content nonstop throughout the months of October, November, December. And I'm not properly checking in on performance and actually taking the time to understand trends, what's working, what's not, and how I can iterate on those things. It's really important not to lose that part and that analysis during these next few months because it will make a difference and it might feel like getting a couple more ads out there and live is going to be more fruitful, but that's not the case. Like I said, in my experience, just relax, calm down, do things as you usually do them, but just at a higher volume. Just chill out, relax, and have fun. That sounds so corny, like I'm dropping you off at soccer practice, but have a good time. I find that that is also when I do my best work during Q4, when I'm having a good time. I often say this to my partner, but one of my favorite movies of all time is The Grinch with Jim Carrey. I will watch it every day for the next few months. I am also Filipino, so Christmas is like now for me, in fact. We are already in the holiday season, but I love feeling like a who down in Whoville during Q4 and Black Friday, and the busyness and the holiday spirit. It really gets to me. So really try to find a bit of joy in Q4, and also, again, try to find time to really do that analytic work and really take time to understand what's working, what's not, and how you can improve it. Because if you're just shoveling ads into an ad account, you will get somewhere, but next time around, guess what? You don't have any learnings and you're gonna have to keep spinning your tires, and that is not a fun way to do it. So you do the analysis as you're sort of in it. It really helps you just make smarter decisions so that in the future for other Q4s, you go in with a stronger game plan and you can keep building on your success. It is the most wonderful time of the year. It is so fun. I hope that all of your Q4 dreams come true. And yeah, that was our very quick rundown on sale ads and how to do a very clean, simple job and make sure that you, yeah, again, to quote Chapel Roan, get the job done this Q4 and just make content that works. All right, thanks so much for listening. If you need any help or support during Q4 over at Pilot House, like I said, we've got Warp Drive, which is really fun and really cool. But if you just need help sort of putting rubber to the road, I think is what people say, and you need help with creative strategy or actual creative capabilities in creating this content, give us a call, give us a shout. Again, if you put Ad-venturous on the lead form, we can chat directly, which is really fun selfishly. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you listen. And thank you so much for listening today. Again, I do truly, genuinely hope all of your Q4 dreams come true. It is a really fun time if you just lean into it and you find the joy and you remember that everything is fixable. I think that is another really good piece of advice. You can fix anything. You just have to step back, take a deep breath, and again, find the joy because Q4 is really fun. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next week.